So, if you're watching this and you are a single mom or just really anyone who's just carrying a lot of financial responsibility on your own, and you've thought about maybe investing in real estate to help to relieve some of that burden, then this episode is for you. My guest today went from 3 to 6 units in just a few years while also raising her daughter, working full time, and getting her real estate license all at the same time. She figured how to pick a strategy, structure her properties, renovate while all living rent free at the same time. She's going to walk us through how she did it and what finally changed when she stopped doing things on her own. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of What's Within Reach. I am Erica Brown. Thank you so much for watching this episode and coming back. If you have not already hit subscribe, what are you waiting for? You are missing out on some good stuff. Go ahead and hit subscribe and let's get into it. I would love to welcome our guest today, Vanessa. She's absolutely one of our faves. She's a mom, she's a multifamily investor, house hacker, and also a newly licensed real estate agent in the state of Connecticut. Vanessa, welcome. Welcome to
Hey,
the
hey.
podcast.
Hey, thank you
So
for
happy to
having
have you
me.
here. Thank you for being here, taking your time to share your story with us today. I'm super excited to get into it. Okay, so before everything that I just shared about you, all your goodness, there was a version of you that was at one time just holding it together. Take us back to that version. What were you doing? What did day to day look like? What were your challenges? Take us back there.
Sure, yeah, no, holding it together is quite literally what I was doing. Prior to owning it and living it, I had purchased my first property, also my home, my first home ever, house hacking in 2023. I purchased a two-family with the intention of converting it to a legal three-family. I knew I wanted an asset that I wanted to pay for itself. I didn't want to have to pay the mortgage on this house by myself. And so I purchased this property 2020 January, early winter, made a slew of mistakes. I was doing this all by myself, working full time, momming full time as well, doing the daily things, school pickup, school drop off, dinner as
All the
well.
things.
I had,
Yes.
the support of a partner, but I was also tackling an entire renovation. When I tell you I purchased this property and the entire house needed a renovation. The first and the
Wow.
second
You were
floor.
ambitious, Vanessa.
Ambitious or Delulu?
Be a little bit of both. I think, in order to do what we do, you gotta be a little bit of both.
Right, right, right. And
Right.
like I knew what I was getting myself into, but I didn't. I knew what my budget was. I knew what I had to do, and I had a timeline. And so I started my renovations, first floor, got it done. By March, the first floor was done and I was getting somebody in there, a tenant screening, getting all that done, and then life kind of happens.
Mm,
By March, I ended up getting a phone call that my partner, who was also my best friend, we were co-parenting together, had lost his life. He passed away. And so, although I was single parenting, I wasn't completely alone
yeah,
financially. He was a wonderful father. He was very supportive, kind of were making things work.
yeah.
And to lose that support in the midst of taking on something so astronomical
That's huge.
was was life altering.
Yeah,
And so I didn't quite have a choice though at that time. Come April, we started renovations on the second floor. I absolutely had to get a tenant in there, right? Because you have a mortgage to pay.
yeah,
We were able to get the second floor in a livable condition and everything came out really great. I got a tenant in there and I moved into the third floor with my daughter, right? And at this point, I'm grieving. My daughter, who was just under 3 at the time, who has no concept of death, is trying to figure out what's going on. I was able to realize in that moment that because I have this house and because I had stabilized it, it was paying
mhm.
for itself. The mortgage was now taken care of, and I was able to take 3 months off of work because
That's
of that.
huge. That's
And
huge.
so that's kind of where I was prior
Mm,
to finding community prior to finding mentorship.
Yeah.
And that was big for me.
That's huge. I mean, one, I'm so, so sorry about what happened. Every time I hear the story, it's just like I cannot imagine. No one most people don't set out to end up raising kids on their own. I'm so proud of you because
Thank you.
you've been through a lot and you kept going. And so even that's a new part of the story that I'm hearing, even that it happened and then you still had to finish this renovation. Like, wow, like life doesn't stop. I remember when my dad passed, I had just bought a property. So I can definitely connect with that story of you still got stuff to do. But
Mhm.
the beautiful part of you pushing through that very difficult season is that you were able to get a season of rest, like of true rest, so you can focus on healing and all those things. So that's amazing. And that's one of the many benefits that we talk about of real estate. We're always joking in our mastermind just how, sometimes we're putting out fires, but then sometimes we're like, wow, okay, everything is fine. Nobody's calling me. If the rent is paid, everybody's paying. And so we take those moments when we get them. So, okay, so the question I have for you during this time frame in your life, I mean, you had acquired the property on your own, you had renovated the property on your own, stabilized it. You did a lot on your own. What made you desire support? Because for the most part, it sounds like things were going well before. Like, what made you reach out, join the community, and hire me as your mentor?
Erica, I skimmed over all the mistakes that I made. I skimmed over all.
You gave me the Instagram version, I
Right, I
guess.
gave you the long story short.
Yeah.
Um, no, so I bought the house on a Wednesday, and then that weekend, Connecticut had experienced some extreme cold weather that burst my p it burst a bunch of my pipes to the point where it was, like, raining in one of my bedrooms, and it wasn't just mine, it was hundreds of people in Connecticut, it was, like, that extreme type of weather.
Wow, yeah.
And the contractor that I had already hired to help me start the renovation had already started some renovations on the first floor. I knew if I had called a plumber that weekend, it was going to be crazy. So I called my contractor. He came out and he like helped me troubleshoot, got some things done, was like, this is going to be the fee for the weekend. And I said, cool, thanks.
Right.
He did some work, you know. On Monday, ghosted, gone.
Ugh,
I never heard from him
dang.
again. I was ghosted by my first contractor after a legit state of emergency.
Oh, that sucks.
Uh, that was rough.
Mhm.
But I was able to lean on some support, some friends and family that really came through for me. And they were like, hey, we're going to come through and get at least the painting done and get
Nice.
it livable. So that was a blessing. And then I was able to find extra contractors. Um, tenant screening wasn't my strong suit at the time. You do as much research as you can, but you don't do the best. And I didn't have the systems in place. I wasted a lot of time, a lot of my personal time screening tenants I had no business screening. So there were just a lot of mistakes that I made. In hindsight, if I had had the support, I would have avoided a lot of mistakes. I was immediately $10,000 over budget because I did
Wow.
not know to plan for contingencies. I had no idea to do that. I had a budget and that was my budget.
That's 1 year support.
Mhm. Right.
And I tell you actually mentioned something that's important because I tell people all the time when you are investing in real estate, you're not playing around with a little bit of money. Like you said, that's just one line item over budget. This is not a Etsy store or, a shirt printing company that you just invest a couple $100 and you hope it works out. No, this is a big deal. No, that's real. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm guessing you had some wins and you had some lessons because we don't like to say losses, we call them lessons.
Correct.
And I imagine that you were thinking, like, what's missing? What am I doing wrong? What am I not doing right? Did you spend a lot of time second guessing and doubting yourself?
I was scared. I was
Mm,
afraid, yes, because I was already neck deep, right? And
mm,
I was at right, there's no turning back. This has to work.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm grateful that I got to the other side of things mostly unscathed. However, I wasted a lot of money. I wasted a lot of time.
Right.
And that's a lot of time and money that I could have used down the line for acquisition or for the renovation that I knew I needed to tackle on my 3rd floor that I also didn't plan ahead for.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. No, that's good. That's good. So, what made you say yes? One, because you came to a retreat after you joined the 5-day challenge and then you joined the cohort, maybe. Yes. And then you came to a retreat. So that's to me the biggest kind of like risk or investment was you coming from Connecticut, not knowing anybody, to then come to Georgia in the mountains with these people who you're like, I hope they not crazy. What made you say yes to that? And then from there, what made you say yes to joining the mastermind?
Yeah. Yeah. So after 3 months of grieving, right, I go back to work. And then I do that for 3 months, and I hated every minute of it, on top of the fact that now I am a full-time single parent working an hour away from her because I commute an hour to work, and I was uncomfortable with that, and I didn't like it. So now we're 6 months out of this traumatic experience. I did your challenge, and then you were like, it's come to the retreat. During your challenge, I picked up so many gems and so much education, so much more just in that week would have than I have picked up in the school of YouTube, that I was like, this is
Yeah.
different. This is
Yeah.
wildly different. And I said, okay, I could use a getaway. Like I could genuinely use a
Why not?
getaway.
Right.
Also, is Erica a fraud? Like let me fly down
She
there.
lives in Atlanta and all the other scammers are in Atlanta, so
Let
she a
me
scammer
Right.
too.
Let me go down there and meet her in person. And I want to meet the community, right? And I want to see this with my own eyes. I need to experience this. And don't get me wrong, I thought I was crazy
Yeah.
the entire trip. The entire trip down there until I got
Share
in the
my
room.
location. I made it, y'all.
Until I was in the room. I mean, I didn't tell anybody what I was exactly doing. You know what I'm saying? I was just, I'm going to go check something out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got in the room and felt what I felt and learned what I learned and met the people that I met where I was like, this is what I'm missing.
Mm,
This is the support system. This is the accountability. This is the education. This is exactly it. It
yeah.
was big moment for me, for sure. I had no idea I needed it until I stumbled into that room.
Yes. I remember when like I presented the opportunity to join the mastermind and you wanted to join and you ended up joining and you were like in tears. I just remember feeling like, man, this is going to be a game changer for Vanessa. Like that's why I was like, girl, let's figure it out. Like let's make it work. Like this is going to be a game changer for you.
Right.
And it absolutely has. It's almost like, you meet people and I can relate to this in a way too, because there are people who they just need the information. Like once they get the information, they're like they go. You make things happen. I mean, I don't know if you've done your top 5 strength, but you definitely have a very high execution.
Well, because
But
when you're
that's you're going to make
serious,
something happen when you're
oh yeah,
serious.
when you're serious.
And so there are so many people who are that way, but because of a lack of knowledge, exposure to these different options and support, they stay stuck. And I'm just so proud of you for saying yes, even when there wasn't like always clarity, on the other side, but
Yeah.
you trusted me, I trust you, and then we make it happen. And not even just me and you've inherited such a beautiful community of supporters in general through this
Oh,
journey. And so,
you have no idea.
yeah, yeah.
I have no
And
idea.
continuing to meet people because every
Mhm.
year it's like you have some people stay, some people transition, but those relationships they continue on. And so, yay. I love that. I
It
love
is
that.
so very true.
It's a beautiful place. I continue to share that, and this just shows like how good God is because me, my vision is like this little small little thing, and then God is like, no, I'm gonna do all this, and I'm like, wow, because I just really set out to do this to efficiently share information. There was no thought of community and any of those things, and God is like, "No, no, you need this too. They need this too," and vice versa. So it's just so good. Okay, so now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's get down to what you have built, the results, the details, all the things. So walk me through, you went from 3 to 6 units in just like a short period of time. What moves did you make in what order to be able to go from 3 to 6 units on your own?
Yeah. Okay, well, move number 1 was mentorship and support. The 6 months that I wouldn't say wasted, right? Because I was kind of healing and grieving. But once I hit the ground running, ready to get that support, it was about, okay, what is your goal? What is your steps? What these are your steps, right? And I didn't do that alone. Once I was ready for acquisition, it was about trying to figure out how I was going to get there. And so through mastermind or mentorship, one or the other, I don't remember. I've been here for so long at this point.
It all blends in together.
And through coaches, and through one-on-ones and VIP days, we have been able to strategically plan what my actionable steps are going to be, right, for the next 6 to 12 months.
Mhm.
Right, and now I have my first property, so how are we gonna leverage this property? Is it a line of credit or is it, a cash out refi? And so these are the strategies, these are the things that I was going to need help with and support with to figure out exactly what was gonna work for me in my current financial situation and to meet my next goal. And so essentially it was decided, we're gonna move forward, we're gonna do a cash out refi, which is exactly what we did.
Mhm.
It took a lot longer than I wanted it to because not
Mhm.
everything in real estate goes your way,
Yep.
right? That's also one thing that I learned very early on.
The power of the
Mindset.
pivot.
Yes,
Yes.
mindset is essential because it's inevitable you're gonna hit a wall. You're gonna hit an obstacle somewhere. And so you have to know to pivot. You have to be able to deal with certain things.
Mhm.
It took 81 days to close on this cash out refi, and I was losing my mind. I was
I
losing
was
my
like,
mind.
"Vanessa, you okay? Okay, you got through the appraisal. Okay, cool. Let's okay, yes, it's a
Right,
lot."
but, like, I don't know if you remember, I was, like, in Voxer, just like, "This bank is driving me crazy." This appraiser just, like, looked me in the face and was like, "I never expected a woman to own this house," like,
The racism, the sexism we have to deal with.
it
Yes.
was it was a whole experience for me.
Mhm.
And finally, I get to the other side of this cash out refi, and then the money hits the bank, and that was another Voxer, and I was like,
Wow.
"Erica, like, I've never been on this side of money before, right?"
Mhm.
And so all of these experiences, they compound upon each other. I use this money, I buy my second property. Second property, I buy 2 families with the intentions of adding an ADU, an additional dwelling unit.
You
I
figured
live in
out
a
your buy box. We call it buy box, your
The buy
strategy.
box, correct. I live in a very expensive, competitive market. It's the only way that I can potentially cash flow up here. And so that's what I did. I bought a 2-family, converted it to a 3-family. And after talking to you for a little bit, you were like, hey, let's maybe consider a midterm rental. Let's see what this looks like. And so I did that. Went ahead and fully furnished one of the units, and now I'm occupied, fully occupied. So we closed on that property in November. March, as of mid-March, I've been fully occupied, which has been it's a blessing. I thank God every day.
So good. That's
I
so
know.
good. Before we got on this podcast, we were just talking about like how does it feel that you just like don't have any
I
fire
know.
drills? You just everybody pays the rent and you just live your life. So okay, speaking let's do this. Let's compare. Let's compare the first building you bought and how long it took you to be stabilized and where you are now in the second building. And then also not only stabilized, fully stabilized, and then financially, in a different like are you in a different place? Like what's the comparison of the two situations?
My first property, I had a partial plan for
Mhm.
renovation. I didn't have the full plan. I had a budget to renovate just the first and second floor. I didn't have the full renovation budget that was going to cover the entire scope of the renovation I knew I was going to need. I didn't even think that far ahead. And so it put me behind, right? Because now that I'm on the other side of the first renovation, now I got to figure out how I'm going to
Do
how am
the
I gonna
3rd
budget
unit.
for the 3rd unit? And that took me it slowed me down a lot.
Mhm,
In terms of finances, this, my first property, it's always kind of just paid for it. It's evened out. It's paid for itself. It's never cash flowed.
mhm.
With the second property, now that I'm fully occupied, I'm officially cash flowing. Like it's my first
Nice.
time in the green, which is
No.
great.
Huge,
It's
huge.
it's great.
And remind me, I feel like the second property from I mean, the first property from start until fully, like, stabilized, was it like a year and a half?
Yeah. Um,
Yes.
Basically, yes. Yes, with the 3rd floor renovation, yeah, because that took
Right, and then with this next one, after, couple years of mentorship, support, guidance with not just me, but from the whole team, because the
coaches,
beautiful
yeah.
thing is when you're a part of the mastermind, it's not just me. You get me and all my experience, but we also have coaches who also have various experience who are pretty equivalent in expertise to myself. You get all of us, and then you get their experience too. And so now from acquisition to stabilization, what is that, like 6 months?
From November to mid-March, was that 3.5 months?
Wow, it's even wow. So that
But
just
it's
shows
a smaller
that's
renovation,
huge.
yeah, but it is
Yes.
huge, it is huge, it is
'Cause you
huge.
had a plan. You knew,
Yes,
like, you had a plan. I mean, I bring that up because I say all the time about how mentorship helps you fast track. It helps you, like, decrease your risk and mistakes, da, da, da. But this is an actual example comparison on how it helps you fast track significantly.
yep,
That's
yep,
huge. That's huge. And you're actually cash flowing and making money now. So,
yep, and I was mistakes. What mistakes have I made? I'm
hmm,
thinking about I'm trying to knock on wood, right?
yeah.
But right now, I feel very stable with this
Yeah.
property.
I love it. I love it. And then another big part of the mastermind and what my goal is working with clients is also helping you maximize your taxes. That is a big part of this real estate journey that so many people don't talk about and so many people aren't aware of. And they leave money on the table because they don't recognize how they can actually leverage real estate investments to help them, like decrease their tax liability. So that's something that I watch you to be able to leverage to help fund investments and things like that for you. Can you like just kind of briefly touch on that? Like how that knowledge has actually helped unlock an additional cash flow leverage that you may have not even thought about before?
That was like a bonus. That was
Mm,
for at least for my first property. With the amount of money I put into that renovation, and I knew what depreciation I had an idea as to what
yeah,
depreciation was, but until I executed and until tax season came, I wasn't gonna have any idea as to how truly lucrative it was.
yeah,
Also, through the mentorship, I got my team in order, right? It's essential that you have a real estate savvy CPA on your team for this reason. And so once the renovations were good and all things were kosher, I went and I got, I saw my real estate savvy CPA and he's looking at my budgets and he goes, "Oh, we're going to talk depreciation and bonus depreciation and you're going to get back this year probably closer to like 10 grand because of the depreciation and bonus depreciation and this and that. At some point we should
yeah.
probably talk about a cost segregation study, but we're
Hmm.
not going to do that right now." And
Hmm.
in my head I'm like, "You mean back? Like what you mean back? Like back? The government's giving
Isn't
that
that
back
it's
to
crazy
me?"
the first time you hear that, you're like, wait, so the money goes to my account. It's not one of those
You're
like tax
yeah.
credit. Like I actually like it's a weird thing. It's like, wait, so
It
the
blew my
money is
mind.
sent to my account? Yes.
But
Even if you are a high income earner, if you're not like living in poverty, you can still get a tax refund with real estate.
because
I get one every year.
high
Mhm.
risk comes with high reward.
Yes, yes, and you understand the real estate tax code now. So even your moves that you're making, you are able to tax plan ahead now to think about how that can work for you from from a income standpoint, which is huge. That's like level 3 investing. Like that's definitely not a beginner's type of situation, but these are the things that we talk about and that we cover and that we strategize with when you are not trying to do things on your own, you know?
Yes.
It's huge. It's huge. Okay, so I wanna talk about next your motivation. All right? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? There are so many women and parents, or just people in general who may be listening or watching, and they have a desire to be more of a present parent. I joke that millennials are, I mean, this is no shade to Gen X or baby boomers or anyone else, but I feel like millennials are some of the best parents. 'Cause we just are so much emotionally,
Yes.
like, available and aware because we're in this kind of middle of the Gen X baby boomers, but not Gen Z. And so we really, even like, at our last retreat, in Arizona, Marion, one of our coaches, he was sharing about how he loves, this is a guy, black guy, like, he loves being able to pick up his daughters and take them, pick them up from school and take them to school, and that wasn't something that he grew up seeing. He grew up like, this macho man kind of thing, type of mentality, toxic excellent, and how he's learned how to embrace some of those things. And so whether you're man or woman, we have this desire to be more present for our children. And I say that back up. I say that story because the other man in the room was like, I want to pick up my kids too. I want to pick up my kids from school too. And so
Yeah.
it's not just a female thing, but
Yeah.
what was your motivation for getting into real estate, and how, how does your daughter factor into why you do what you do?
Man, she's everything, right? I call her my guiding light, you know, but also, you know, but also I deserve it too, right? We deserve
Yes.
it. And
Yes.
so I grew up in a single mother household as well. And so I remember the long working hours. I remember her going to work, and I remember also me having to miss out on a lot of things because she was always working. And without, my partner's support, I can already see the cycle, right? It's
Mm,
coming our way whether I like it or not. And so for me to get ahead of this, real estate is the answer. To break this cycle, and to be able to gain financial freedom as well as freedom of time, right?
yeah.
I want to be able to have either have full control of my schedule,
Mhm.
or be work optional.
Mm,
Like, period. It's as simple as that. I wanna support her in whatever she wants to be exposed to. "Mom, I wanna play basketball." We're gonna go try that. Mom, she came to me and was like, "I wanna play ice hockey." I said, "Okay, I don't know who you've been talking to, but we're gonna go try that at some point. Sure, let's go try ice hockey." I want to be able to support her in whatever she wants to try,
yeah.
um, and, like, dive in headfirst, you
Right.
know?
And for money not to
And
be a factor.
for money not to be a factor and for
Yeah.
time not to be a restraint, right? I don't want time to be a restraint. And I feel that now in the current life that I'm living. I can't stand the fact that my W-2 takes up the majority of my life,
Mhm.
right? And so that is my motivation to and make real estate. It has to work for me. There is no option.
Yeah.
There is no option.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
via whether it be investing and or my realtor career or both
Yeah.
together, that's it's gonna have to be.
No, that's so good, so good. I love what you said, not only just the time piece. One, that's exactly how I ended up leaving my corporate job because I was like, "Why am I here all day? Like, I could be doing something else. Like, I'm done with my job." Like, I'm very big on, like, not wasting my time. And so wanting to control my own time was huge. And then secondly, being able to expose them to various things. I remember my middle son, at the time, he had a baking business, and he was like asking all these questions about like the history of baking and things like that. And I was like, let's just go to Paris. Let's go to the baking capital of the world. And through having wealth through real estate, I literally took him to Paris and we went to the oldest bakery in the entire country. Like, that's crazy, right? But that's what it's about. As a parent, you want your kids to like have it even better than you. And so I'm with you. I don't want to have to like limit them financially because of whatever. And that's a thing. Like when you work for corporate, there's a cap on your income. If you want to, and I love that you got your real estate license because it gives you that diversity of income. You know, we talk about it all the time when you're in what we call the owning it phase. You're a landlord, you're building wealth, you're acquiring properties, you're very growth focused. You're not making a lot of money during this phase. You aren't like paying yourself. You're not making enough to do that. But having your real estate license gives you that little bit of additional diversity of income, whether you refer it out or you actually work with clients, it gives you the additional income to do some of those things, you know, be able to reap some of the rewards in real estate now that you will absolutely be able to later. And as you were sharing your motivation and your story, I love your journey because the way you specifically have invested through multifamily house hacking, which we're going to get into next, you are buying good properties in areas that are appreciating in values, which means future equity, future options, but you also are buying multifamily. So multifamily gives you more opportunities to actually earn cash flow, which is difficult. It's difficult to get cash flow and appreciation. Everybody wants it, but it's very difficult to actually find it. So I love your situation because you're going to look up in a few years after that job has pissed you off for the last time. And after you've like, you know, kept going and been steady, and maybe they don't piss you off. Maybe that's not how you exit, but whatever. I'm not going to wish that on you. Okay. Or, you know, you're going to get to a place where you're going to be able to see, okay, with all my properties, I am making, you know, 5K a month and I have hundreds of $1,000s of equity. You're going to have the option to either just, you know, go into real estate full time or part time and continue on and still live rent free. Or you'll have the option to maybe sell one property that has increased in the equity a lot, pay off one property, increase your cash flow, and still quit. Like it just gives you so many options in a shorter period of time instead of having to wait until you're 50, 55, 60 and doing all, you know, all this time has gone. Your daughter is now going to college. She doesn't want to have anything to do with you. She's living her own life. Okay. Trust me. This is what I'm feeling right now, but you are able to do like fast track that process so much sooner to where maybe she's in middle school now, right? And you're able to be an even more present parent and transition your career because of the investments that you are making now. I love that for you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
see it.
Yeah. No, I'm
How
excited.
does
I'm
that
excited.
feel? Like, how does that feel to like for that to be your future?
No, it is my drive. You have no
Yeah.
idea. I daydream about my future all the time because I'm so committed to my path. It's not even
Yeah.
funny. You know, people ask me all the time, you know, being a landlord has got to be hard. You got to be dealing with a bunch of stuff and complaints and evictions and da 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 da. And I'm like, I would rather deal with tenants. And when I say deal with tenants, because I'll tell you this, my tenants and I, this is my community. I've built
I
this.
love that. I
This
love
is
that.
my community. I treat my tenants with respect and they respect me back, right? This isn't like this terrible thing that I look down upon. This isn't that. And that's what people don't understand. When you treat people with kindness and respect, it's oftentimes reciprocated. And I get to choose my tenants and I choose them wisely. And the most important part of being a landlord, in my opinion, is your tenant screening process. And
Yep.
so, you know, I try to have these conversations with people and they're just like, no, it's too much, it's too hard. It's like, okay, then it's just not for you, and that's okay. That's
Yep.
okay. But this is just where I'm at.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I'd rather deal with that than drive an hour to my W-2 every day until I'm
For 40
65,
years. Yeah.
67 at this point,
Yeah.
probably 70 when I'm getting ready to retire. And I'm not okay with that.
Right. You give yourself 5 to 10 years of your type of strategy and you can be set. Like you could literally be set with also now you have these skills that you can monetize. Like I love when you decided to get your real estate license. And in a second, if you're watching, keep watching because we're going to talk about how she lives rent free. We're going to end with that. But I got so excited when you decide to get your real estate license because I know how passionate passionate you are about helping others in your community do the same because you really have options. Like if you are watching this and you desire something different, that is the first step. Like actually not just accepting your situation and wanting something different is the first step. And you have such a passion to help other people be able to do this too, to take this like non-traditional route, to be able to bet on themselves for their family. So talk about what made you, because I know that you went back and forth a little bit deciding if you were going to get your real estate license. What made you say yes, and what is your desire um to do with your, with your real estate license? What do you desire to do for your clients?
Yeah. At first, I flip-flopped a lot. I think, I made the decision a few years ago and then I decided against it because I was like, I don't really think it's going to benefit me as an investor. I'm just going to have my quarterback realtor who's going to be in my back pocket and it's going to get it all done for me. Luckily, I have an awesome mentor who got in my ear and was like, just get your license, just get it done.
Sometimes you gotta just say, just do it. I don't often tell you guys what to do, but
No,
sometimes I gotta put my big sister hat on and be like, girl,
no, I'm so grateful that you did because I think that you got tired of me complaining about my job enough for you to just finally feel comfortable enough to be like, "So what are you gonna do about it?" So I finally pulled the trigger and I started hitting the books hard. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy, right? I would go to work, I would leave work, I would lock myself in a library for 45 minutes before then having to go pick up my daughter from daycare, right? And then doing that 3, 4 times a week. It was a commitment. Getting that license was the best thing I think I've done for myself, aside from
love
buying my
that.
first property,
Love that. Why? Tell me why.
for multiple reasons. The reason I went and decided to get it were, one, I realized that with this license, it would open up more opportunity for me to actually reciprocate, I think, within my community, not just like as an investor, although it has paid off tremendously for me as an investor with my second property and its acquisition. But in terms of how this license is going to help me really target my community and really help educate in terms of financially, in terms of, just in general, what the buying process could look like, even what the selling process could look like, and in representing myself as a buyer, I learned so much about my
Yes, you were
local
your
market.
first client. You were your first
I
client, which
was
is
my
great.
first client, right? I represented myself. I wanted to be my first client, right? I wanted to know what this process was going to look like, the documentation, the processes. I jumped in head first, and if I was going to make a mistake, it was going to be with me. And I realized that there are a lot of millennials out there getting ready to retire their parents, and there's a lot of selling of those properties going on top of, well, like, okay, now I got to take in my parents and now I'm looking for a specific property that's going to help us. There's so
Mhm.
much going on within my community that I didn't even know was happening, where like
Wow.
if I didn't get this license and jump in headfirst the way that I did, I wouldn't have had that exposure.
Mm.
So, in terms of what this license is going to do for me, I just know there's a lot of opportunity for me. I really want to see more and more people buying their own properties. Rent is so high up here. A lot of rents are higher than some mortgages that people are paying right now. It's absurd. It's going to do a lot of good things, not just for myself as an investor, but for my community as well. I
Right.
want to
And
focus
you're
on
gonna
education.
Yes, I love that you're focused on education because there's so many myths out there. You need to have 20% down, like all these things. And you're the type of person who will share information first and support from there. And so they'll be able to learn. And that's also a big reason why I was like, go get your license because I don't tell everybody to get their license because everybody should not get their license. But I know your heart to help and to share. And I know that you are trustworthy and have integrity and you are a type of person who do what they say they're going to do. And so that's why I was like, girl, get your license. So yeah, if you're in Connecticut, you need to be hitting Vanessa up. I'll make sure add her information in the show
And
notes. You need to be
yeah,
working with Vanessa.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to hit the ground
Yes.
running.
I love it. I love it. And hopefully y'all will help her work herself out of a job and then she'll be doing this full time one day. Okay, last thing, last thing. Girl, how do you live rent free? So you're telling me that your mortgage in 2026 with these 2026 interest rates, okay, are covered by your rent. How? Break it down. Let the people know how.
2 mortgages.
Two
The
mortgages
2
covered, not
mortgages.
one, two.
Honestly, house hacking is the foot in the door, right?
Yeah.
You
So break
That
down
is
what
the
house hacking
answer.
means.
House hacking is when you buy a property to live in. You're gonna live in this property, specifically for me, a multifamily, with the intention of living in one of the units and renting out the other units to tenants who will pay you rent, and you're gonna use said income to maintain the property. So you're gonna use that income to pay the rent, to pay the water, to pay the utilities if you need to, and also put away for reserves in case of repairs or any vacancies or anything of that nature. So when I say that these properties are paying for themselves, at this point now with full occupancy, they are doing all of that. I'm not coming out of
So good.
pocket for any of it. Um,
That's huge. That's and again, back to your story of did not get into this to have to financially have to support your daughter, you and your daughter on your own. Having, you deal with a lot. Like you having to do a lot on your own for your daughter. So you having to have this, real estate covering your housing for you. Like how does that feel to not have to do everything on your own and to leverage real estate to help fill in the gap?
it's beyond a breath of fresh air because I can tell you from experience when my partner passed away, and I crunched the numbers and I realized if I had full responsibility of my living expenses on top of daycare, which is a whole other living expense in itself, right?
Another thing.
On
Yep.
top of everything else, I knew that we would be underwater,
Mm,
right? And that's not just my scenario, right? That is most single income households.
yeah.
It is, especially, up here in the north where the cost of living, it is impossible to thrive.
Yeah.
Like it is very difficult to make it. And so when I sat down and I crunched my numbers and saw that we had room to breathe,
Mm,
I was like, okay, we're okay. We
mhm.
are okay. And that was when everything kind of clicked for me is the real estate is truly the answer. And then when tax season came looping back around, it clicked again. It's the experience, right? You can go to the school of YouTube all day and you can learn these terms like depreciation and cost segregation studies, and you can learn about cash out refis and line of credits, but it's not until you put them into action and start putting these strategies into play where you start to really see the doors and the options that they open up for you. Even with the second property, you were talking about options, right? Even down the road, that will be available to me because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of
Mhm. It's when.
when. It's a matter of when, because we know that homes gain equity. We know this.
The
There's
data
not
has already proven it. It's like it's just a
correct.
matter of waiting.
I know that my tenants are going to continue to pay down my amortized mortgage, right? I know these things
Yeah.
and that these are going to be options and doors that are open for me. So when I purchased the second property, I had more options. I have the option to convert another unit to a midterm if I want to
Yep.
bring in more income if I needed to. If for
Mhm.
any reason the current income wasn't making it. Like there are more options for me to play around with. And that
Yeah.
is a beautiful thing to have when you are a single income household.
Yes, I love that, I love that, and somebody may say, "Okay, so what happens if your tenant doesn't pay rent? What all these things. These things happen, right? These things
Been
come
there?
up, and yes, and we have systems and processes that you learn to help you overcome that season, but at the end of the day, someone always needs a place to stay. AI is not going to replace housing. Someone will always need a place to stay, okay? And so you endure it. We are not fear based. We're not going to make fear-based decisions. We're going to educate ourselves, equip ourselves, surround ourselves with other people, maybe a little delulu, but we're going to make it happen and pivot when we need to.
Mhm.
That's so good. That's so good. That's really good. And, if you're watching this episode and you connect with Vanessa's story so much, and maybe you're stuck, or maybe you've started investing and you're just like, I have made so many mistakes. I need help. Like, we can get on the phone and talk. Like, there's a link in the show notes where you can book a call with me. It's called a discovery call. And we could just talk and see if the mastermind is a good fit or not. At the end of the day, I just want you to get help. I don't want you to be out there missing out on your blessings and opportunity just because you're stuck and you don't know what to do. There have been times where and I see this all the time, and I've done this. I know Vanessa's done this. I know other people have done this, but there have been times where, especially when you're in the thick of that owning it phase, you may not have it. You literally may not have it. So what are the things we talk about? Sometimes you gotta charge it, and then you gotta make the money back. But the beautiful thing is, when you tell me that you're doing that, I am going to figure out how to help you make that money back ASAP. ASAP, because I want you to overall be in a financial stable place. And so, yeah, that's the situation sometimes. But no, this is so good. Anything else, Vanessa, you want to share with the person who is watching this episode, that's like relating to this, that feels the weight of this, that wants to do what you did, wants to follow along your story? Anything you would share with them, especially from like a mindset standpoint, on how you would encourage them to take the next step?
Yeah. I would start off with saying that mindset is everything. I think we kind of covered that, in detail earlier. And if your mindset is telling you right now, well, I can't afford a mentorship, or I can't afford this support, I know that real estate is the answer to my problems. Like, that real estate is my passion, and I know that this is kind of where I need to be. My response to you then is going to be, then you can't afford to not have support, because what's going
Yeah.
to happen is exactly what happened to me my first year as an investor. You're going to end up making a lot of costly mistakes. You're going to end up wasting a lot of time, and you're going to then look back and wish that you had the support uh, that that you needed. Take it from somebody who did that exact
Mhm.
thing. And I say it all the time. If I had had mentorship prior to my first acquisition, I would have been in a much better place financially, I think, after my first property. So whether it be just, starting off with a challenge, just start small. I think every investor should start small. I don't think you need to dive headfirst into, the biggest mentorship, but I do think that you should start somewhere. You invest in your education the same that you would invest in, an associate's or a bachelor's degree. You have to invest in yourself if you really want to grow in education.
Yeah. No, that's real.
And
That's
you're not
real. I love
crazy.
that.
And you're not
No, you're
crazy.
not crazy.
You do belong here. Like you
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. No, that's real. Thank you for sharing. That's so good. And if you heard yourself anywhere in Vanessa's story, that is absolutely not a coincidence. That is on purpose. The feeling of doing this alone, but knowing that you're capable of more, that is an intentional feeling that you're feeling. And that's exactly who the Owning and Living It Mastermind is built for. This is my 12-month high touch program where I work with clients one on one, and also a part of our group to really help them scale in real estate. These are for people who are serious about investing in real estate. And so if that's you, Vanessa is one of the many amazing people in the community. Okay. There's so many amazing people in the community who have made a decision to start. So I again encourage you to book a call and we can chat more from there. All right, Vanessa, where can the people find out about you? Where can they
Yeah.
follow you?
I am on Instagram. You can find me there at Roman Vanessa. I'm also on Facebook at vanessa.roman.35, and my website, vanessa.roman.kw.com.
Yep, and you can just Google her too, and you'll find all
Sure,
the things.
sure.
And also, her information is below in the show notes if you're watching or if you're listening. But thank you so much, Vanessa. This was so
You.
good.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks for listening to another episode of Wealth Within Reach. And we will see you next time. Bye.